Hi, how's it going? I'm Marlene, and thanks for wandering on by. I'm a little bit all over the place. I've been feeling recently just really energized, very creative, lots and lots of ideas just boom, boom, boom going through that I have content ideas that I've written down, and I made plans, and I think like I have an order of what my next videos are going to be. And then something happens and I just like throw all that other stuff or put all that other stuff on the back burner and want to talk about what's forefront in my mind. So yeah, I've just been just feeling really just full of ideas. And so this morning I did a reading, and it made me think of this that I wanted to share with you. So some of the things that I want to talk about are these two decks, the Stolen Child Tarot and the Nature's Wisdom message cards. Mostly because I just got the Nature's Wisdom message cards, and I saw these first on, well, here, let's talk about them and I'll show them to you. So I saw these, I believe first I saw them on Garden Goddess Tarot's channel. Thea from Garden Goddess Tarot, she was showing these cards, and I just I love them. I really want to, and I got them, and because I said this, I think to Don Michelle or someone the other day, about how this is like my fantasy self, because I want to be earthy and outdoorsy and I'm not, and I really struggle with the concept of being grounded. I don't, and I even meant to have like a whole video just about the fact that I can't get grounded. Oh, you might hear my dog in the background. But I struggle to just feel like firmly planted on the ground. I've mentioned before, I think a couple times, that I'm a Gemini, I'm an air sign. And honestly, that really didn't connect for me for a long time, that I was an air sign and that I was not grounded, because I just literally constantly live just inside my mind. And sometimes I feel like I don't even have my eyes open half the time, that I'm literally just floating about. And then I can kind of zero in on something and then focus there. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody else, but that's my brain. But yeah, so this deck is, and I'll show you, let me grab the cards over here. So it's just this lovely little deck of, oh, let me do it like this. It's this lovely little deck of these just photo, looks like stock photos of of things on, in the natural world. Oh my God, lizard. If you've watched any of my other videos or watched I think it was my Oracle video that I talked about my fear of lizards because of the chameleon. Anyway, it's just so sweet and so, here, I'll get closer. As I put them down. It's just gorgeous, and I want to feel earthy this way. And I wanted to, because I can get into the metaphor of these things, I can pay attention to the acorn, and if I happen to see something, like this, roots, for me, I don't feel the thing is that I don't feel connected to the earthiness of roots. I feel connected to the metaphor of roots, if that makes sense to anybody else. But I still love it, because it's the world around me that I like to, you know, compare to the experience of it, if that makes sense. Sound, charcoal. But it's just this gorgeous, I mean, and it's not great cardstock, it's like very papery, but it also has these really nice messages on the back. So 3 different messages. And so it's a great as an oracle deck. I just got it, but I wanted to figure out how I was going to use it. And so today I wanted to pair it with, this morning what I decided, because I'm currently doing, the challenge. Sorry if you can hear my dogs like nails clicking on the tile in the background. That's what that is, if you can hear it. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I'm currently, look at that egg, eggshell seed. It's just like awesome. So I'm currently doing the Spark of Magic Tarot Challenge that I found on Lionheart's Instagram, and I will link that below as well. But yeah, I like to do those monthly challenges, and sometimes I do every single day. And you know, depending on what really resonates with me, sometimes I skip around and don't do every single day. And sometimes I, you know, miss a few days and then like hook them up together. And the last 3 days were questions about, with having to do with inner child work, which has been something that I've thought about. You know, if you saw my tarot buzzwords video, I talked about how like this whole idea of fill in the blank work, so shadow work, inner child work, deity work, dream work, what are the other ones? You know, all of that stuff that kind of came about as I've been learning about the tarot was sort of like brand new to me, you know, like, I mean, the concepts I understand, but it's just something that like didn't occur to me as something that I would be doing. And inner child work to me seemed really fascinating, because I'd really like to, as I get to know myself better through the tarot, I really like to kind of revisit versions of myself from the past, my young self, my child self, my teenager self, and like figure out, you know, what wisdom that voice can give me for my life today, and work through stuff. So, so all that to tell you that when I got this little deck just yesterday, I think, I wanted to use it. And so because the last 3 days prompts, I guess, for the Lionheart Spark Your Magic or Spark of Magic Challenge had to do with inner child work, I decided that I would grab the Stolen Child Tarot and pair it with this amazing Nature's Wisdom message cards. And the Stolen Child Tarot I got because it 100% made me think of, sorry, needed some water, makes me think of, like, literally transports me to childhood. Like, that's the idea of it. You know, it is a deck that is inspired by the William Butler Yeats poem, The Stolen Child. So, I mean, you can imagine, like, this is so up my alley because it is based on a poem. Here's an excerpt from it. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. And I've read this poem. It's not one that I knew very well, but I reread it. I'm into more contemporary stuff than like Yeats, but you know, I still think it's really beautiful. But it's really the artwork in this deck that is just like blew me away. And it just looks exactly like so many storybooks and cartoons. So I'm a child, so I was a child of the 80s, and this deck just reminds me of so many things of that time period. Like I said, books, cartoons. So specifically a really obscure cartoon that I think I mentioned this before somewhere in one of the tarot groups, and someone told me that it was actually based on, it was a book, sorry, I'm referring to a cartoon or live action / cartoon movie from the 80s that's called Water Babies. And I believe it's British, but it was, when I mentioned that this deck reminded me of that to someone, they told me that that movie cartoon was based off of a book. And I didn't know that. I love this Empress and Emperor is the white bear. I love it so much. But yeah, so I guess originally Water Babies was a book, children's book, and then there was a cartoon, and it was something that I saw as a kid. And it's like, what I remember the most about it is the beginning, because it starts out as live action, and it's this little boy, and he falls into a river. I don't know, or like all the adults are like horrible in this movie, and then like he runs away or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm making this up entirely. You tell me if you remember it. And he falls into a river, and then when he goes underwater, it becomes a cartoon. And then he has like all these adventures, and there's like a whole thing with a lobster, I think, or crab. I don't love the full card. It's not my favorite. Everything else is like amazing. And in this deck is so watery. So like, well, this is the cup suit, the brine. But even the air, I don't know, even some of the majors, it just all feels like very fluid and watery to me. I'm going card by card because I want to get to the Empress, and maybe I did and I didn't even realize that I did. Look at that moon. But yeah, like look at how watery this is. It's definitely a very magical, like, but hauntingly magical. And I mean, look at that. Like, it's super, I don't know, it's got like kind of a, like almost disturbing vibe to it too, because of the like children like morphing into animals, and like it's just this very, see, like, yeah, this child, like, I don't know, but is it a child? Is it a fairy creature, a water creature? There's like fur. So there's just like all this like growth. Yeah, there's the Emperor. Oh, yeah. So like that one. Oh my goodness. It's just, this deck is, there's so much to work with. It's so beautiful. This is the one that gives me like water baby vibes so much. So yeah, so I mean, what more, what more perfect, and I just thought that these two would go together so beautifully. I just can't stop looking at cards. You guys like that though, right? We like to look at the cards. But yeah, so I put them, I decided I would put them together in for the Lionhearts, these prompts for these past 3 days, and I want to share that with you, and kind of show you like what evolved, what happened in that reading, without getting like too super personal, but I will read a little bit, I think, from my journal. Gosh, I have like really, I don't know, it's just dry lately, so I just need to drink. Sorry if those like noises are loud. Oh, and this is my gorgeous new journal for June. I wanted to, oops, I have this here to let me know if I'm going out of the frame. And now I knocked it around. Oh, this is just random. Sean, my partner, he makes things out of wood a lot, often. And so I just have, this is a letter opener. So I just had it here to make sure I didn't go out of the frame. Anyway, so isn't this pretty with the pink, like black and pink, is some of my favorite. But I wanted to show you the Spark of Magic tarot challenge. And this is, I'm not at all an artist in any way, but I just wanted to show you the prompts. So Spark of Magic Tarot Challenge, and then the heading for this one is from a little spark may burst a flame. So these are days 7, 8, and 9, and is all to do with inner child work. So I wanted to use the Stolen Child Tarot, the Nature's Wisdom message cards, and then I did the tarot here, and then the oracle paired next to it. And so I want to show you how these like came out together, because these oracle cards with their message on the back are just like so cool. So number 7 was, how can my number 7, well, it's day 7. So how can my inner child help me with my spark of magic? And so I got the 8 of brine and rain. So let me show you, and then I'll read to you. So the 8 of brine and rain, and maybe I can fit them all here so you can see what the whole spread ended up looking like. And then day 8 is, what would my inner child do with the potential of my spark? So how can my inner child help me with my spark of magic? What would my inner child do with the potential of my spark? And then the last one is, where can I follow my child, my inner child, in sparking my magic? So then here's what came out. So 7 of oak. And then I got scrapes. Oh my gosh, this is gonna fit. Oh, hang on, let's move it over just a little. Pardon me while I make things fit. And then here we got the Knight of Flame and Seedling. But like, you can see it. How nice these go together. I just love it. I just love the way that it looks, because it's like these beautiful illustrations and then these photos. It just like the contrast for me, I like it. But let's talk about them one by one as well too. So we've got 8 of brine and rain. And so the prompt is, how can my inner child help me with my spark of magic? And so 8 of brine, and this, it looks like this child, like, character person is managed to find their way out of the water, and they're heading out, but they like found this piece of wood to get themselves up and out. And then the rain. And so I picked this last message as the one that spoke to me. So, honor your tears. They support and prepare for all new beginnings. You cry for change. So, like, how amazing does that go together with the idea of the 8 of Cups and like leaving things behind and moving on? From what you've learned from your past and emotions, and like, that's just so cool, right? So then the next one is, let's take a look. So the prompt was, what would my inner child do with the potential of my spark? So 7 of Oaks, so this would be the 7 of Pentacles and Scrapes. This deck, these images are so, there's so much going on here, but like, obviously like the inner, like the organs and I mean, this is like a human child inside this kangaroo. It's not, right? That's not a kangaroo. That's a human child. You know, come away to the waters in the wild, oh human child. And this whole idea of gestating and reevaluating, that's very present in the 7 of Oak, the 7 of Pentacles. And then the acorn and these woodland, or I don't know, maybe not woodland. These, maybe these are more Australian. And I don't know about animals, sorry. But anyway, yeah, it's just like, so it seems like the idea, you know, like from here to here of what you can, what your inner child can help you with about moving on and honoring the things that you've been through in the past. And then, you know, what is the inner child going to do with that potential? I mean, it's like this rebirth and a reevaluation, but also the scrapes. So the message that stood out to me here was, there's nothing as important as leaving your mark. Your efforts will be acknowledged. So that's the first one. And I mean, even the second one too, like, so just like the idea of getting in touch with this, like a past version of myself that can help me reevaluate and rebirth. And it really, for me, is connected to like knowing my importance and knowing like what I'm here for, and what I'm trying to do. And because I've been feeling just so energized and creative lately, this like spoke a lot to me and about my self-worth. I wrote more in the journal after I kind of go through these cards. I'll read it to you a little bit with what feels comfortable. Yeah, so I mean, I just feel like these two decks just like really speak beautifully to one another. Oh, look at this one. Okay, so then the final prompt is, and pardon me if this video looks crazy town, I just don't. I'm not a visual person, but I'm just like putting my journal up here to read this to you. Okay, so day 9 is where could I follow my inner child in sparking my magic? So the Knight of Flames, so that would be the Knight of Wands and Seedling. So yeah, I've been getting the Knight of Wands recently, and it totally makes sense with how, just like I said, like I've been feeling really energized and really creative and really thinking about like future projects, and like I've got like 8 poems in my head and a couple I started writing down, plus, you know, all the content that I've been thinking about creating, and yeah, just like ideas galore. And I just feel like the imagination of childhood is such a great connector for that type of thing. So yeah, so the message that stood out to me here is you are finding your voice, marking your territory. You are establishing obvious growth. And just like a great message for me. like all of it, like, I mean, that's the one that I wrote down, this middle one, but all these other messages on here are really great too. Unsteady first steps. You have instigated a new cycle, phase, or you have instigated a new cycle, phase, or aspect of life initiation. Realization of potential, belief in oneself, the escalation of, well, maybe not that one, the escalation of relationship promotion, but realization of potential, belief in oneself. Because I have a long-term committed relationship, so, and I don't know about promotion. Well, anyway, yeah, but I really do feel like I'm at a place where I'm finding my voice, and being able to share my voice here with you is a big part of that I am really, really happy about being able to do these days. So yeah, let me put them back here for you to see, and then I'll share just a little bit from like the overall, my overall journal entry, because it's about this, you know, idea of inner child work, which I'm still trying to figure out, you know, what about that feels comfortable for me to dive into, you know, just on my, like, myself, to tap into, you know, old versions of myself. So let me see what I can share with you here. And pardon me if I stumble over my words, because I don't want to, there might be things in here that are too personal. But, so I wrote down this. I wrote, I'm still working on my understanding of what my inner child is and what work I'm doing when calling upon answers from her voice. My inner child really feels like the amalgamation of many different versions of my past selves, because I even think of my teenage voice as a child, and it's easiest to hear her. She is the loudest, but I can hear myself, see myself as a child, and call upon her to speak to me these days in my present. I'm not sure which versions of my inner child that I'm comfortable tapping into. I think I prefer to speak to the memories of myself that ruled my imagination, what I wished and hoped for as an innocent in the world. So defining my spark of magic, which is synonymous with my self-worth now, it's getting easier as I continue to embrace different aspects of myself. Sorry, that part I'm gonna, so I go on to talk about, and this is the part I wanted to share with you. So I go on to talk about this memory that I have of, a very vivid memory, that I have from when I was a child. So I guess I can share this other part with you. So I'm beginning to learn about, and I'm studying and trying to learn more about Taoism and the Tao. And I really, there's a lot of things about that that are resonating with me, and that philosophy that's really feeling, I feel very drawn to lately. So I'll read this. As I begin to learn more about the Tao, I'm convinced that this philosophy is one I want to fold into my practice. The simplicity of it is so appealing, and how it calms me in the face of everyday life is healing. It does go along with what I've always felt to be true since I was a little girl. I remember I have this very vivid memory of being in the pool in my backyard and asking, you know, quote unquote, God, for a sign to make me a believer. And I vividly remember this. I'm going off book right now. I vividly remember because I grew up. You can look. You can watch my my tarot origin story to hear more about my religious upbringing. But just, you know, basically, I was raised Catholic, and I, you know, as a kid, I remember being in the pool and asking God, quote unquote. Now I say quote unquote because, you know, I don't use that word anymore. To show me a sign, and I asked for a bird to fly overhead at that moment, and a bird did fly overhead. And it was just one of those things as a kid, right? It was amazing, and I didn't know what to do with magic like that when I was little. I probably still don't know what to do with that. And I don't know what to do with such magic, and what I make of events like that from childhood. When you just know and feel the power of the universe and the unknown inside you and outside of you. And what can I make of that now? Well, it validates my imagination first, and it puts me back in touch with that innate wonder and curiosity that I had as a child. And it soothes me because I can still sometimes, if I sit still and slow down, I can feel that sensation and connection of myself with, I don't know what word to use, with the universe or the everlasting or the source or God, goddess, deity, the unknown, you know, all those words that people say, whatever you call it. I mean, if I'm staying true to Taoism, right, I wouldn't name it at all, because I can't. So at the moment right now, I'm connecting with my inner child, and that idea is about reconnecting with my sense of wonder at the world. That's incredibly valuable. That's incredibly valuable as an adult, because then I can integrate that wonder into my sense of self, and I can appreciate my own power. I love the intricacy of the Stolen Child Tarot. It's a visual representation of my childhood cartoons and storybooks. Pairing it with the Nature's Wisdom message cards is so right, so perfect. I mean, yeah, look at these simple stock photo images. It's so powerful. Yeah, so this was extremely helpful as my first foray into inner child work. And maybe I'll continue to do some more inner child work as it feels like less scary to me now, because the place that I feel like I can connect to is that sense of wonder and sense of curiosity. I hope it wasn't too weird reading from my journal. I guess like I'm sort of just sharing, you know, some of my inner thoughts with you, and some of the things that like I'm, you know, researching and studying, and how it's kind of all mixing together into my tarot practice. And yeah, and I just thought it was really neat this morning that my inner child came out to play and talk to me in this way with these cards. So yeah, I'll just put Stolen Child here and the Nature's Wisdom message cards. So I hope that you enjoyed that. I just really wanted to share that with you tonight. It's now night here where I am. And I hope you all have a beautiful, wonderful day. Bye now.